everyone.
I'm back, baby.
It's Jake Ciely.
I'm great. Everybody else sucks.
Oh,
no. It's every nightmare I've ever had.
Excuse me?
It's time to check the link.
Pretty crazy, huh? But it doesn't matter because none of this has anything to do with the show.
You know what? You just made the list.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time. Really? No.
What is up, you ducks? It's all in football. Actually, with a duck shirt. I'll get to that in a second. In the FTN network, check out Jeff and all the good stuff over at FTN. 20% off with code ALLIN, all capitals for you over there. Speaking of all capitals, theathletic.com/betstv, all capitals. We're already rolling out draft kit stuff because we had a magazine this year, so stuff is coming out early. I did Fantasy Football 101, but essentially goes to 401. That's as high a classes went, right, Jeff? The fours? Does it go? Did anything go
in
fives?
undergrad?
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, undergrad. So, well, then I'll say you could go to 501 because there's some graduate level stuff in there to try to help you out with trades, setups, all that type of stuff over there. But as crazy as this might sound, Jeff, I don't know. I'm assuming you've been on vacations. This was the first vacation I've taken in my life. That's not an exaggeration. It's not hyperbole. I've never been on a true vacation. The only time I've been out of the United States was to Toronto, and that doesn't really count. Went to Puerto Rico with the girlfriend, which that's why I'm wearing this shirt. This is from her Duck Fire Department. It's actually on backwards. This is like the back because the front doesn't really show anything. And that's why she got it for me because it's a duck from Duck County walking on a firelight. This is the greatest shirt ever. But anyway, went to Puerto Rico, Jeff. I feel like it's been weeks, but then I also feel like time flew by. Does that make sense vacation-wise for you? Like, I feel like I haven't done work. I haven't seen you. I haven't done anything in like a month, but at the same time, it felt like, wow, I can't believe that went by so fast.
I mean, I think that's a metaphor for like life, Jake. But I can already tell that people on Twitter are going to want to correct you because they're going to do the, well, actually, you didn't really leave the United States. Guys, it's awesome when you correct everybody on Twitter. It's just keep going. But no, that sounds awesome. I've actually never been to Puerto Rico. My wife and I did just go to Mexico right after the NFL draft, and you need that charge of the batteries because it's about to get crazy here as we head into July.
Yeah, it really was. It is amazing. I will say Puerto Rico, so Joel Pinheiro, the former pitcher, friends of Nando, he's the one that gave us a ton of recommendations. We did the rainforest. We did the zip line, which 90 miles an hour. I took some video of that. I'm going to post that at some point. Yeah, that was insane. We did all the good stuff. We checked out Mar Chiquita. All this. The only thing we missed was the bioluminescence. Oh, we did boating to go snorkeling. We found the snorkeling, which you can do. There's a lot of tours, but this one actually lets you take your own little boat and you drive in a line, which, by the way, the worst part about that is people don't know how to drive a boat. Oh my God, I wanted to like run these people over. It was the most aggravating because you're supposed to stay in a line. And the lady goes like this when you're supposed to speed up because the faster you get to your checkpoints, the more checkpoints you can see and the more time you can spend snorkeling and stuff. And they keep hitting the throttle up and down. And I'm like, oh my God, I just wanted to like go past all. But anyway, outside of that, amazing trip. The roads, though, it makes you appreciate even the worst roads you've seen in the United States because there are potholes that just shoot out of the blue, feet deep. Like I'm not like a foot deep. It's ridiculous down there. Otherwise, beautiful, a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. Man.
Mexico the same? Similar?
Well, I mean, I was in a pool with a swim-up bar and didn't have to pay for any of my meals because I already prepaid, all inclusive. It is weird going from all inclusive. I was at a couple restaurants recently, been traveling, did the Detroit FSGA conference, was in Chicago the last time I was on the show with you, in fact. And like I go to a restaurant, it's like weird to have to pay. It's like, oh wait, oh yes, I have to do that here. I'm used to just showing up and give me a mimosa, and then I'm gonna eat, and then I'm out of here.
You're gonna get arrested in Mexico for skipping out on a check. This is what everybody tuned in for is travel. That's what we're gonna do. But no, we are going to travel the NFL world again. How about that? We're doing the roulette wheel again, Jeff. We're gonna spin things around, see how it is. However, as last time, there is one little bit of news that we do need to talk about. Rob Gronkowski's retirement, ? Second retirement, ? I think this one's more official, especially because he already knows Tom is coming back and has known for some time. When I did my projections, Jeff, I did them without Rob Gronkowski. And if you look at the depth chart currently for the Buccaneers. Cameron Brate checked in as a low-end tight end 1. Is it Cameron Brate time finally, or are we going to fall down and get tricked again, and this just isn't settled anyway?
Well, I think it's a more complex question than just, is it Cameron Brate time? Like, is Cameron Brate the number 1 tight end for this team? Yeah, but all right, back end tight end 1 with that sort of numbers. I'm actually looking up what we have right now, and I did the same thing. And I mean, my projections are somewhat robust for him, but even so, is Cameron Brate much more than the 50 catch guy, right? Is Cameron Brate much more than a 540-yard guy? Is Cameron Brate much more than a 6 touchdown guy? Those numbers, as we've talked about on this show many times before, that's back-end tight end 1 numbers. But you know what that is? It's 6 good weeks of fantasy, like very good, like top 5 even, and then 11 weeks of this guy sucks. Cameron Brate isn't getting it done. He's the worst tight end ever. Should I drop him? I'm going to drop him. I hate him. I'm going to drop him. That's what we sign up for. Like he's a catch and fall down tight end. He's not George Kittle going to break off a long reception. Kyle Pitts. He's not a super high volume guy like Zach Ertz. He's Cameron Brate. And there's other targets in that offense. And I think that, the overreaction right now is excessive. And I also should say, Cade Otton, Jake, in my pre-draft comps, I had Cameron Brate as my comp. It's not a replacement for Gronk because you don't replace Gronk. It's a replacement for Cameron Brate, who has been on this team since 2014, who is 31 years old, and you get a guy in now as a rookie who has a couple years to develop, hopefully, and then he can be that guy, hopefully, for you for the long term in this offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. If Otton was 100% and there weren't health questions, I think he would have been possibly the number 2 tight end off the board in the NFL draft. I'm with you. I like him a lot. It's funny you threw out those numbers, but this is why, Jeff knows exactly what he's doing. That's why we do this. I have him for 62 receptions, 639 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which checks in at tight end number 12. So there you go. Jeff, you ready to spin the wheel?
Yeah, let's
see
do
what
it.
we start off with. I don't know if we can have we mentioned anybody offhand? I forgot to turn down the brightness.
Well, we just mentioned the Bucs, so.
Well, yeah, that doesn't really count though. Yeah, so Raiders. We're starting off with the Raiders. This is a fun team. This is a fun team because Davante Adams is in there. Let's start with the Davante Adams trade because there's a lot of debate out there of, is Davante Adams going to be able to replicate the Packers? Is he going to see a severe downtick because of the touchdown efficiency with Aaron Rodgers and the target, numbers being what they were? But then there's the flip side of, Derek Carr just threw for 4,800 yards. Let's not forget what Derek Carr has done. But so it's kind of, you're going from high touchdowns with low 4,000 yards to high 4,000 yards with low touchdowns. Because what did he throw? 23 last year, 22, 23, somewhere around there. So the question remains, Jeff. Is Davante Adams still in tier 1 of fantasy football, or is he now down into tier 2?
Well, where do you divide tier 2? Do you divide tier 2 as in this year not a first-round pick? Because he's right on the edge of that, right? We're going to see Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and I should say not necessarily in that order, because I just saw a draft where Jamar Chase was the top receiver taken. Sirius XM, we did that at the FSGA. It went Chase, Jefferson, and then a pick, and then Scott Engel, who was your former colleague there, took Cooper Kupp just like a gimme putt. Okay.
That's the one he was talking about where he got him at 8 or something like that?
He got him at 8. Yep. It was a 14-teamer, so I understand why the team who took Jamar Chase wanted to make a splash. But still is exactly right. But Adams is right on the cusp. So if you want to draw that tier line as these guys are it, and then you have this next group who could very well still be elite, but isn't quite in that first round conversation, then yeah, sure, I'm with that. We also can't forget touchdown production aside, these two had 38 touchdown connections in 2 years at Fresno State. I mean, massive touchdown production there. So I'm not overly concerned. In fact, I love it when people want to overreact because, heck, if I'm in the early second round, I grab one of those late first round running backs in the first round, and then I get a crack at Davante Adams if I'm at the 2-2 or the 2-3. I mean, give me that all day long.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. So the question now is Renfrow and Waller. We're not going to see Darren Waller get back to being, quote-unquote, Darren Waller from 2 years ago if Hunter Renfrow doesn't take at least a slight tick back. If Hunter Renfrow is going to be last year or even take a tick forward with Adams, then Waller's going to be more like last year. So who are you more on being able to repeat success, Renfrow or Waller? Because as I said, like the numbers don't lie out there to be able to have all three of them be their bests.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you'd have to figure probably around, at a bare minimum, 150 targets for Adams. But to be fair, this is not a team that's going to throw the ball 500 times. Even though coaching regime change, all of that, there's still going to be a team that likely gets around 6 or north of 600 passing attempts. So there is a lot of meat on the bone. But if I was inclined to say who's more likely, I would say Waller still because of the mismatch. We should, though, note that the slot position in a Josh McDaniels offense is a pretty darn important position. So Renfrow will still get his. It's just from a ceiling standpoint, a lot of that dink and dunk, sure, you could have 90 catches, but you could have 850 yards. Whereas Waller still has that major juice, that constant mismatch and that juice after catch, sort of the opposite of what we were just talking about with Cameron Brate. So I'd be more inclined there, but Jake, I keep seeing him go too early for my liking. So I usually am not on Waller, and the ceiling for Renfrow, I'm usually not on him where he's going as well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And you can see it parsed down to those three and then everybody's share that's left over, whether, it's Robinson, Hollins, if Keelan Cole makes the roster, Foster, like just their pie is only 25% combined. I mean, that's happened on certain teams, but just the likelihood, I'm more with you on the Renfrow, seeing him being in that like 80 catch range versus last year, which, as you mentioned, means probably in the 800s of yards. So somewhat touchdown reliant. So let's talk about the backfield then, because I think I brought this up to either you. I think it was you, but it was either you or Meanie. It was during the draft time, and we were talking about Zamir White and whether we thought anything of Zamir White, because you talk about a new regime. You talk about the failed, like John Gruden seemed to be the one that really wanted to make Kenyon Drake a thing. And then we even saw like once he left, he kind of stopped being as involved, injuries on top of it. But I say that to say, we know Josh Jacobs is the lead. We know Josh Jacobs is going to be Josh Jacobs. So if we're looking for that 12th, 13th round dart throw, has the position moved? Is it not Drake anymore and we should be taking that flyer on Zamir White? Or do you think there's still something left with the veteran?
I think if anything, Zamir White's a handcuff, but I can't handcuff like the number 22 running back. It just that doesn't really compute to me. We're gonna see. We know what to see out of this backfield. A lot of people will say, "Oh, Bill Belichick's running backs are unpredictable." No, they're not. They're extraordinarily predictable. What is unpredictable is game script, and then how he's going to ultimately deploy based on game script. But we know he has early down runners, right? And so we're going to see that here. Josh Jacobs and then Zamir White. We have passing down backs. Okay, Kenyon Drake and right now Amir Abdullah are the two passing down backs heading in, and they're not all going to make the team, but that's what we have right now. And there's always a jack of all trades, whether it's a Rex Burkhead or the classic jack of all trades is on this roster, Brandon Bolden. It's easy. What's hard is predicting game script, but I think that we'll initially see a Jacobs early down, Kenyon Drake satellite back rotation with Zamir White as the primary cuff to Josh Jacobs.
All right. Anything left? Derek Carr.
Yeah.
In or out on Derek Carr? I think that's the easy question there.
I am, so I have dubbed it the basic bro approach in 2 quarterbacks super flex leagues. So I typically will wait until about 10 to 12 quarterbacks are drafted, and then I want to draft 2 safe options. I will not draft Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa in a 2 quarterback or superflex league, but I will be all over the basic bro approach of Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins. If I can get that in every draft, nobody is going to ooh and ah. Nobody's going to nice pick bro me, but I'm going to be just fine at the position as opposed to those very volatile guys. Whereas, in 1 quarterback leagues, late round, I like Derek Carr as a safe option, and then I will take a swing on Trey Lance or Justin Fields or whoever's there for upside. Carr is going to be fine. He's this generation's Phillip Rivers, and then getting this receiver in there in particular does help the cause.
That's so funny. I said the exact same thing about the Phillip Rivers, and it's funny. I'm looking right now. So my tier of these quarterbacks: Lawrence, Carr, Lance, Fields, Cousins, Tua. Like it's just those guys. Actually, Tannehill too. Like it's just all of them.
Yeah,
like,
he's
right
a basic bro as well. He's in that group. Matt Ryan would be the 4th of the basic bros. There was a basic bro boy band That's it right there. I don't know which one of those guys have the frosted tips, but that's our basic bro boy band.
I think it would be Carr because he's got the eyeliner.
Yeah, he does have the guy liner. Yeah.
I actually knew somebody who did that back with the 2000s emo pop rock. Yeah, that whole, what do we got here? Panthers.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. We both had different reactions. Because of the quarterback figuring that out. Christian McCaffrey, quick version. Christian McCaffrey, the second pick off the board for you, or is it somebody else?
It's debatable. I'm not going to talk anybody out of it. I think, players who could go in that 2 spot, Cooper Kupp, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler. I even think it wouldn't be that outlandish if somebody said, I'm just going to take Derrick Henry.
Or Najee Harris.
Or Najee Harris. Sure. There's nobody on that. People can talk about Mateo Durant all they want. There's nobody backing him up right now.
I know. I came back from Puerto Rico and I'm like, what? Mateo Durant dropped 15 rounds while I was in Puerto Rico.
He's not big. I mean, he's very athletic. He had a heck of a pro day, but he is not big. So I can't see how he would be the backup. I mean, maybe a complimentary piece. I mean, maybe he's impressed. Who knows? But he's not big enough to carry the ball 20 plus times a game. That's for sure.
No, but I mean, and his competition is Benny Snell, so I think that's bigger part of it. So, all right, let's talk about the more confusing situation. And as of today, it is Sam Darnold as of today. But let's just say whether it's Darnold, whether it's Corral, whether it's a trade for Baker Mayfield, is this wide receiver crew right now and probably even going forward DJ Moore and blah? We're hoping for a Robbie Anderson resurgence, but we still have Terrence Marshall, who was very gifted but very, very raw, and there was plenty of reports that he was struggling at several moments last year deep into the season. So are we messing with anything else? And should we mess with anything else is the bigger question.
Yeah, and I think all the reports of Corral are not favorable. I mean, it's going to happen when you have a kid coming out of that type of offense into a pro-style offense. It's just a huge learning curve. He was supposed to be
Mac Jones, Jeff. Come on. He was supposed to be amazing and ready to start from day one.
I don't know. I mean, we'll maybe we'll give him a pass on that one. My good friend Jonathan Jones, who JJ got himself a promotion, by the way, at CBS. I know a lot of people saw that, but Jonathan Jones continues to say that Jimmy Garoppolo is very much in play as well. So it could be Baker, it could be Garoppolo. I would love it if it was Baker or Garoppolo because that would really help the cause. I just don't buy Sam Darnold as anything more than a decent backup. And decent backups, you need them, but decent backups will continue to depress fantasy value for DJ Moore, who has had an awesome 3 years, except from a touchdown standpoint. So what I'm doing is this. I'm taking the discount on DJ Moore. I'm not even thinking about Robbie, or is it Robbie? Is it Robbie or is it Robbie? R-O-B-B-Y or R-O-B-B-I-E?
So I brought this up on the Athletic Show. I always go to the main team, CarolinaPanthers.com. So SeattleSeahawks.com. No periods in DK on the Seahawks website. It's IE on the Panthers website. I go by the website. AJ Dillon has Pierce.
I'm poking fun that he literally changed his name from Robbie to Robbie.
I know this is at least you could have done D Eskridge and went from Dwayne to D and at least completely changed it, or you could have done D Strange Gordon in baseball. He went from D Gordon and added Strange hyphen, so he's Strange Gordon now.
I don't know what to do with that one, but I don't know if it was misspelled the whole time and he just finally got around to correcting people. But he's not a factor. There have been positive reports about Terrace Marshall, but I take those very lightly in June. It's like the Carson Wentz thing. Carson Wentz is amazing. He's a leader. He's doing great. These are all, they feel like they're planted in the media so that you could boost his ego. Right. And I don't know if that's the case with Terrace Marshall right now, but I'll believe it when I see it. I'm holding him in Dynasty, but yeah, DJ Moore is really the only option. I love that people are down on him too. If he's there wide receiver 17, 18 on the board, I'll take him all day long because I definitely have him ranked higher than that.
See, the funny thing is I was just about to say I have him at 18, and I've pretty much had him at 18 every single year. But I'm saying that it's not disrespect. It's just that he's going to finish right in there. And if you're talking about the wide receivers from about 14, 15, 16 down to 27, like that's the one I would the highest confidence in being right there inside the top 20 is DJ Moore. He's going to be there. And you mentioned the only difference is if you all of a sudden have somebody who knew throw touchdowns to him, he would be he could actually probably be a wide receiver 1 and like that 10, 11, 12 range.
Nope.
And then so tight ends, we're out on this team, right? Like I would love to see. I love some Tommy Tremble, but remember Ian Thomas for the past 2 or 3 years, and then Tremble gets it. Like I just feel like it's a void on this team.
Tommy Tremble is going to score a touchdown one week. He's going to be everybody's like number 2 tight end pickup for the week, all the way over wire columns.
Here's what I'll compare it, Jeff. This is the Cleveland Browns in the NFC at the tight end position.
Ugh. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not good.
See? Too many they have upside guys that just can't clear out. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
We got to get a better team here. Well, that wasn't the worst team, but maybe let's see if we can. I wonder if the Buccaneers are going to show. Oh, I saw them go by, so it's not the Buccaneers. Falcons. This is like wonderful dredge of
Is this the draft order next year? What are we doing here?
I don't know what's going on. I mean, we haven't got the Texans yet, so not necessarily. All right. This one could be pretty quick, I think. Look, we know Kyle Pitts, Drake London walking into a great situation. We covered that on the rookie show. We don't need to go too much further into Drake London. So it just comes down to what else is left here. You have Tyler Allgeier in the backfield, Damien Williams. There's been talk that Allgeier could take over by the middle of the season. There's talk that it could be week 1. But the talk that I want to ask you, Jeff, is does it even matter? Like, does it even matter if somebody distances themselves unless it comes down to it's only Damien Williams and Cordell Patterson, or it's only Allgeier and Cordell Patterson? Like, if it's 3 guys, do we even care?
Well, I don't think it's going to be 3 guys.
Okay.
Damien Williams is like Marlon Mack. I have no idea why. Maybe he has dirt on everybody out there, or maybe I'm just being trolled. I don't know why everybody likes him. I have no idea. None whatsoever. Damien Williams, even when he was at the quality part of his career, wasn't a high volume producer. So I have no clue. Cordell Patterson is awesome. And, I enjoy Cordell Patterson, one of the best special teamers I've ever seen, right? Awesome season last year, but he's not a 15 carry a game guy. He's, really you want him to be ideally maybe a 5 or 6 carry game guy, but it's probably going to be more like 8 to 10. Well, they're not running the ball just 10 times. So where do the other 15 to 20 carries go? I don't need an abacus to figure this out. And this is a kid in Allgeier who can certainly handle that workload. But, like any rookie running back, we say this every year and collective amnesia sets in and everybody forgets it every year. Give it time. It's not going to happen in September for every running back. It's not going to happen in October for every rookie running back. But the cream that rises November, December, every year we see it. And there are 1 or 2 or 3 running backs out of the rookie class who take off down the stretch. And Allgeier very well could be one of those guys from a volume standpoint. Maybe not the most efficient, but could be ultimately an RB2 down the stretch. Sure. And you're not going to draft him there. You're going to draft him like the 40th running back off the board.
He might even be somebody that somebody else drafts, gives up in week 3 because they give up too quickly. Yeah. And then you go scoop him up. Let's not forget what you just said, Jeff. Jonathan Taylor Cam Akers weren't broken free, especially Cam Akers, but Jonathan Taylor wasn't broken free right out of the gate either. Like it's not even the best of the best sometimes.
Miles Sanders. I call it, Jake, though, what you just said is I call that a Jeremy Hill. I won multiple leagues that year because multiple people drafted Jeremy Hill, got frustrated after 3 weeks, dropped him, and I scooped his rear end up, and he was an absolute monster over the second half of the season. Like, this is annual, and yet annually people forget that this happens, and they listen to beat writers saying that incumbent fill in the blank who is a Jag is atop the depth chart. Of course he is. He's a veteran. This kid's a rookie who's just done OTAs and minicamp. Like, he's done nothing yet. Of course the veteran's first on the depth chart for right now. Of course he'll probably get a little bit more work. David Johnson was a classic example, and he actually had a pretty good veteran in front of him in Chris Johnson. And that All or Nothing documentary, Bruce Arians said it. Now, of course, the documentary comes out way after the season, but he was talking to another coach, and he said, he's going to be a 3-down guy for us later in the season. Like, said it. These guys know this is going to happen. We should know it's going to happen as well.
Couldn't agree with you more. Oh, by the way, I think we said it on our cliche rundown, but just in case we didn't with the running with the ones, I saw a lot of that when I got back from Puerto Rico too. I was like, oh, what a surprise. They're being evaluated to see if they can play with the ones. What a shocker. Let's see who we get Coming up next.
We didn't talk about the quarterback situation. I mean, we should say at least
do we need to?
Desmond Ridder could start it from the gate. Well, here's the only reason why I'm going to bring it up.
Okay.
Anybody who's considering drafting Marcus Mariota as your third quarterback in a 2-quarterback superflex
Don't.
should reconsider that, and maybe consider Ridder, especially if your two starters are later bye week guys.
Absolutely, 100%. Okay, yes, that I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah, because and I this is one of the ones where there's like, oh wow, Ritter's so impressive right now that we can see. That one I actually believe. And I think I said it. This is another one I think I said to you, Jeff, is that we were having this discussion and people were talking about the safest, consistent quarterback in the draft class, and people were saying it's Kenny Pickett, and we sat here and said the safest, most consistent was Desmond Ridder. Like the most consistent quarterback play in college was Desmond Ridder, and people were like, "Oh, Kenny Pickett." Kenny Pickett had 1 year that eclipsed his 4 combined. So I'm with you on Ridder. I am skipping that team. I should have deleted it. I'm not. We'll come back to that Washington team at some point. They've got other issues right now, so we'll save them for another day and move on from them. Similar to another team we moved on from last week. Ravens. A lot of injuries coming back from Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. They don't have their number one Marquise Brown anymore because they traded him. Lots going on. I like this. This is a lot going on with this team. Let's start with, we keep doing quarterbacks at the end. I'm going to start with quarterbacks, Jeff. Right now, could change the fantasy industry, as you and I talk about every single year. You'll see helium kind of float people up because all of us start talking about guys that we talk about them being undervalued, that at some point they go from undervalued to being overvalued. But as of right now, if you're going to give me Lamar Jackson as the 6th, 7th, 8th quarterback off the board, yes, that still means like 6th roundish. I am taking all the Lamar Jackson all of the time, everywhere I can, and I'm not even drafting a second quarterback.
If you draft a quarterback that early, yeah, I agree. There's no such thing as a backup in fantasy. The concept of that it kind of melts my brain a little bit to even think. So I think we have to pivot away from just thinking about that in general. If you're going to draft 2 quarterbacks, you have to do so with intention. And the intention I usually have is a late round. I want to try to hit a home run like I did with Lamar Jackson, and a lot of us did with Lamar Jackson in 2019. But I also want to cover my rear end in case I strike out, like I did with Daniel Jones the following year. You have to at least make sure that you're not completely shot in the foot at quarterback. So then, you're going to work the waiver wire. You want to try to find the next Justin Herbert in his rookie season. But if you draft Lamar, yeah, of course, you don't need a second quarterback. That was your plan. Your plan is now executed. I don't know if he gets there. That's the problem. I don't know if he gets to the 6th round in home leagues. Home leagues aren't as quarterback crazy as they once were, a decade ago, but they do go a little bit earlier still. And, it depends. It depends on whose rankings, because I have him ranked at 4, Jake. Like if they're using my rankings, he's probably going to go before round 6. Oh, what do you have him early? You have him ahead of? You have him at 2 or 3? 2. You have him ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Wow. Why do you hate Patrick Mahomes?
I really hate Patrick. You know where I have Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, no. 5?
Yep.
Oh.
I hate Patrick Mahomes.
You hate him.
You know why? It's because he put ketchup on steak. If you put ketchup on steak, you're not allowed to be a top 3 quarterback.
He ordered it well done, though, to his credit.
Did he really?
I don't know. I feel like that's the only reason why you would, right?
There's no.
You're like, did he really?
That's like the worst thing ever. Here, I'll cut my shoe up for you, Pat. You can eat that and put some ketchup on it. No, I actually go Allen, Lamar Jackson, Hurts, Herbert, Mahomes.
You're really bullish on Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have him at 7. I'm not saying it's like crazy, but and I know why. You explained it last episode, right?
Yeah, we did the Eagles.
Projects out. And I get that. I totally do, especially with the addition of A.J. Brown. I guess, maybe my rankings are more risk averse. I mean, I have the same guys, just slightly different orders. Yeah. Mahomes at 2, Herbert at 3, Lamar at 4. I do have Kyler at 5 because if he stays healthy, he's unbelievable.
There's no question about it. I think my little hesitation with Kyler is what happens until Hopkins gets back. That's my concern too, because it's a different game for him that he seemed to play. But we haven't hit the Cardinals. They're coming at some point.
Yeah.
Ravens for now. Let's move to the backfield. We've kind of touched on this on other episodes, but my opinion is that the Ravens, you always say this, Jeff. You say this is kind of like one of your things. See what the team is telling you. And I've repeated that a lot. the team is telling me, despite the fact they're not on the field, the team is telling me they are confident in J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards being ready because they drafted Tyler Batty, who's basically Justice Hill, you even said so, and did nothing else. They're telling me Dobbins, Mike Davis. Whatever.
Mike Davis, but yeah, it's Mike Davis.
They did nothing else. They did nothing else by bringing in Mike Davis. So the only thing with Dobbins and Edwards is in this backfield is your ceiling for the running back, even with a 65% workload, is probably 1,100 yards. It's probably 240, 50 carries because there's going to be some of it split, and Lamar Jackson's taking a hell of a lot of it. You're touchdown reliant. Is there too much risk with J.K. Dobbins right now if he's going inside the top 16 running backs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%. And, the rebuttal, and this just shows, how a lot of people think for fantasy purposes is the rebuttal is going to be Mark Ingram 2019. Mark Ingram was off the charts efficient in 2019. That efficiency is not normal. I mean, it's within the realm of possibility, obviously, because it happened, but it's not normal. Normal efficiency for, 200 carries roughly and just over 1,000 yards, right? So normal efficiency is what, 6 touchdowns probably on that, somewhere around there. I mean, to be fair. And he had 10. And he also had 5 receiving touchdowns on 26 catches. That's not normal either. So you can point to that all you want, but it's not realistic. And if we're going to operate in that like video game state, where we think all of this stuff is possible, this dream state, we're not going to draft very well. And yet you're right. You're putting yourself in a bad position. I think he should be outside of the top 20. He's still an RB2, no doubt about it. And I love the kid, but there is a very real cap, even in an ultra run heavy offense, on his fantasy upside.
Yeah, I have him for one of the highest touchdown rates of all running backs, but I still check him in with just 1,000 yards and 10 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving, which for me, that puts him even behind Aaron Jones. And let's be clear, I love J.K. Dobbins as the player, but that puts him at 18 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm lower on touchdown efficiency, yards, everything. I have 193.5 carries. I'm looking at the projections at ftnfantasy.com right now. 848, 849 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, 27 catches, 215, and a receiving score. The 5 receiving scores on that for Mark Ingram was insane. It's normally 1 or 2 touchdowns on that.
The biggest difference is I think we just share. I have him for 212 carries. You said for 180,
193 and a half.
193. Yeah, so about 20 carry difference.
So you're probably just giving Gus a little bit less. I'm giving Gus a little bit more, but it's still that's the range.
That was going to be my follow-up question.
Yeah.
Is Gus Edwards one of the best middle round picks right now?
I don't think so.
Is there a world where he's the lead guy?
I don't think so. I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, for me, if you're talking middle round, and I can also get right now, you can get guys like Damien Harris in the middle rounds. I'd rather get Damien Harris.
Nobody wants.
You can get Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the 6th round, which is silly because everybody here, Ronald Jones, let's put him on the list with Damian Williams and Marlon Mack, Ronald Jones, Jordan Howard's on that list because I'm sure if Jordan Howard came back right now, everybody'd be all in on him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is free. Miles Sanders is really cheap right now, and he's coming off of one of his best years that he did nothing in. And the nothing was obviously the touchdowns, but the efficiency was off the charts. He had more runs of 15+ than he's had since his first year. I mean, it was really good last year. He just didn't score any touchdowns, and we know where we know where regression works. It can work. The mean you can go up to the mean as well. I know people hate that positive regression, but that's just not an understanding what the term regression means. He can move upward to that average as well. So, I'm not in on Gus. I feel like you're going to be in a lot of situations where if you had to start him, you'd probably be pretty disappointed by the production.
Okay. So let's talk about the passing game. And we know Mark Andrews at this point. So the question comes down to is they traded away Marquise Brown. The fantasy and draft Twitter combined love some Rashad Bateman. Love some Rashad Bateman. I have Lamar Jackson and this team combined because I do have Huntley taking 1% just for injury's sake, but 510 pass attempts. Of those, 120 go to Mark Andrews and 119 go to Rashad Bateman, at least in my projections of the breakdown. There's 65 for Duvernay. There's 44 targets for Prochet. There's 22 for Wallace, and like Kai Polk gets like 7. Like that's just, you know how projections work. The point being is when you work this all backwards, Bateman falls just short in mine of 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, but that checks him inside the top 25. Is that the ceiling? And is it the bubble about to burst on the hype for Rashad Bateman, or is there potentially even more because the fit, as we talked about a few weeks ago, might be even a little bit better for Lamar Jackson than Marquise Brown was?
I think it's probably the latter. The hype is there. We'll see if the masses catch up when they start to wake up, next month, if they catch up on Rashad Bateman. But I think those are reasonable projections. I'm maybe even a little lighter than you are because I guess I'm giving Prochet a little bit more credit. I am at 47 targets. It's not like it's a lot, but that's definitely the question mark, though. How much does actually go to Duvernay and Prochet? And I guess the other question mark, and this is something I just finished on Monday. I finished writing the draft guide for FTN. It'll be released next Monday on the 27th. You want to sign up, promo code RATPACK, get you 20% off so you can get it when it's released on the 27th. But I speculated that Will Fuller could be a guy they look at.
I can see that.
That he has. I'm not the first person. No, I didn't invent sliced bread on this one. But
Who's your
Fuller's
source?
out there, and you could say, all right, so he was initially linked to the Packers. That's not going to happen. They drafted 3 wide receivers. It's not going to happen. So there are very few teams left that actually could use Fuller's services, and I do think Fuller is signed. It's not like he's 33, 34, 35 years old. He's 28. Granted, we haven't seen a good season out of him, really in over 2 years here, but he could step into that field stretcher role, which, I guess you could ask Bateman to do some of that, but you don't have the same type of skill set as you did in Marquise Brown, where Fuller could do that. And that would really change the calculus in this group if something like that happens. So I'm not quite convinced they're done at the position. We'll have to see what they do as we get closer to training camp.
Let's do a little like just if. Let's say they were done.
Okay.
Or even let's say the addition is not even Will Fuller. It's an also-ran of wide receivers. If that's how we are going into week 1, Rashad Bateman or Terry McLaurin?
McLaurin.
Okay. I'm just curious. Just because he's been falling quite a bit.
Carson Wentz, for as bad of a season as that was, I'm on record saying it's not a breakout year for Michael Pittman because he already broke out. Last year he had over 1,000 yards. He had 88 catches.
I said that in my breakout column for wide receivers. I'm right there with you, Jeff.
He already broke out. So Carson Wentz helped him break out. Then you can at least sustain wide receiver 2 production. Basically where McLaurin has been all along. I don't think it's going to get much better, but I would much rather just go that route because it's definitely more of the known commodity.
Would you take Pittman over McLaurin? I know what you just said, but would you go Pittman over McLaurin? Okay.
Yes, Pittman.
Just for everybody out there for clarification. Yes. All right, let's see. Luke, we got time. We got plenty of time for at least one more. We can see maybe if we can get 2 more, depending on how terrible for fantasy purposes the next team is. And we got the Buccaneers. We finally got them. Look, the thing's still listening, and knew we had to get them in before the end of the show. So, Chris Godwin. Hey, perfect timing. Also news today. Likely, there's been rumors, likely now to start on the PUP is now the official update that came in recently. So still, whatever it might be. Let's just say worst case. Let's play the middle ground, Jeff. Let's say it's 4. It's not 2. It's not PUP. It's 4. He misses September. Mike Evans is Mike Evans. We just talked about Cameron Brate. Russell Gage. Is Russell Gage going to... Is he going to be the Bateman? I'm going to ask you the same question because everybody that you and I follow, pay attention to, seen talking, like this would be saying, like, if we went on the show right now and be like, everybody, Russell Gage is a sleeper, people would be like, no kidding. Everybody in the fantasy world is talking about that. But Russell Gage production has basically been DJ Moore to a lesser degree. He's just lacking the touchdowns. Is Tom Brady going to change that and Russell Gage is potentially a game winner at the beginning of the season? Or is there potentially long-term full season value for Gage? Because I don't think anybody is not on board of saying that Russell Gage could win you September. I think the question is that all year long?
It's a good question. In the new injured reserve rule, too, it's 4 games. So I have to check, though, because I believe it used to be in the past, if you put a player on injured reserve and heading before the season technically started, then that player had to stay on it. All the rules shifted a little bit, but now it's 4 games. Remember, it's 4 games, not 4 weeks. The pup is 6 weeks, not 6 games. So, whatever. Russell Gage, for most of his career, seemed like a lackluster, low upside slot receiver, number 3 guy, maybe even a number 4 guy. Last year, he was thrown into a very difficult situation where the team not only didn't have their long-term number 1 in Julio Jones, he was gone. Then they had the next man up, the guy who was supposed to be the guy, leave the team. And then we know how that has all worked out for Calvin Ridley. And he did a really nice job. He did a really nice job in the process. Sure, the touchdown production wasn't there. Guess what? His quarterback was Matt Ryan. Think about how many players do we have to figure this out? Julio Jones, touchdown production. I don't get it. Julio doesn't score touchdown. Kyle Pitts doesn't score touchdown. What's the common denominator? It's Matt Ryan. And I go back to Michael Pittman. Yes, I still would take Michael Pittman ahead of McLaurin.
He's going to have 2 touchdowns this year.
Please, no. Give me at least 4. But I think that's part of it. And, that isn't an issue with Tom Brady, who has had 40-plus passing touchdowns in each of the last 2 years. Mike Evans has had 27 touchdown receptions from Tom Brady in the last 2 seasons. So that does help. But you bring up the most important point. Is it only in the beginning of the year? And how often do we fall prey to these guys who get off to a hot start? Mike Williams last year. Everybody was, Mike Williams, he's better than Keenan Allen. Well, he was in the first 5 weeks of the season, and then he came back to the pack. It does create opportunities where you could say, okay, it's trade bait, but doesn't everybody know that this is the situation? So I would say there is potential there. It also helps that there's no Gronkowski, because I don't think all those targets just go to Cameron Brate. I think some of them then could also be funneled to Russell Gage. I have him at wide receiver 50. If we do, in fact, know that Godwin would miss the first 6 weeks, then Gage is going to have to move up much closer to wide receiver 3 territory. I won't be that much more bullish on him than that range, but he's going to have to move up because that production is going to be solid as the number 2 receiver in that offense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you remember last year, too, that beginning stretch run was DJ Moore, too. DJ Moore and Mike Williams, people were like, oh, I'm not even trading him for Jonathan Taylor. They're so damn good. They're going to be like the new Cooper Cup. Like, it's just like, wow. I remember
Every year.
God, like people were running away with they were putting their championship trophies up if they had both of them at the end of September. They're like, we won this thing. I just remembering some of the people that wouldn't trade them for the world. That backfield, we've already covered the draft, but any additional, like, we kind of did that. Fournette / Rashad White, one of the best backups, potential bye-week value with Rashad White if you're desperate, but I mean, one of the best backups. That's all we're looking at with White, right?
Well, yes. Something I said on my SiriusXM show today is if you draft Leonard Fournette, as you're drafting, go down your board, and wherever you have Rashad White, just move him up like a round and a half, just to make sure that you then get him. And then when you get him, and it's week 4, and you want to drop him because Leonard Fournette is just fine and you need the spot, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Commit to the damn cuff, because Leonard Fournette gets hurt during the fantasy playoffs basically every year, and you're going to need him. And it's such a valuable spot. Fournette is I'm in on Fournette, but I'm also a realist here. So, yeah, you absolutely need a cuff. And I love me some Rashad White. And I also love him, you Dynasty folks. I love him for the future. He's such a complete back. So exciting. It's a good pick. I mean, we just have – obviously they're going to have a looming question at quarterback for the future, but Rashad White at least gives them plenty of juice out of the backfield.
Yep, definitely. Same page there. Let's see what we get on the way out with about 4 minutes to go. We get – I thought it was going to stop with the Texans after all that. We get the Saints to close things out. Saints – the backfield remains to be seen. There's the whether or not Kamara is suspended, for how long. The backfield, I'll ask the one thing I will say about this. If suspended, Mark Ingram at this point of his career, looking shaky. Interest in Abram Smith? Yes or no?
I don't think Kamara is suspended this season because his initial hearing doesn't take place until August.
Right.
That's his initial hearing. It was supposed to take place in April. This is how slow the legal process plays out, and the NFL is going to wait on this one. So, but no, not much interest. I would just fade the backfield outright. Hopefully he's suspended for like 2 games. People freak out. He's like a 3rd-round pick, and we just scoop him at value all day long. But even as a 2nd-round guy, I'm actually in on taking Kamara.
Okay, so let's talk about the wide receivers. Jameis Winston last year, interestingly enough, if you watched him play, so this is another one where like watching statistics might not tell you the entire picture, because people will say, well, the completion percentage for Jameis Winston went down. But if you watched him play, he was playing smarter football. Some of those were throwaways that were previously interceptions. Some of those were let's survive for another day, and then he threw a touchdown or threw a complete. So Jameis Winston was playing better football despite the completion percentage going down. But the big question we have here is not Jameis Winston. The big question we have here is, what is Michael Thomas was still, by the way, crossing yet another... Is he running 1,000-meter hurdle race or something? Like, how many hurdles does freaking Michael Thomas have to cover here that he's still crossing hurdles? That being said, there was a ton of excitement for Chris Olave after the draft, but then Jarvis Landry comes in. This is potentially a giant mess. How are you parsing through this as of today, Jeff?
In the world of track and field, we call that the steeplechase, Jake. That's what that is. The long distance with hurdles and a water pit, because why wouldn't you have a water pit?
Michael Thomas is the one that goes to and he trips and then falls smack.
Does a cannonball in it. Yeah, and he's like crawling out. Like guys are just jumping over him. If you fool us once, all right, fine. Shame on you. But I don't want to be fooled again here. Shame on us if we're fooled again by this. Last year, there were literally people still in week 8 saying, well, I have Michael Thomas, though, too. Like, I got Michael Thomas on my bench. So, when he comes back, and he never came back. You wasted a bench spot. You wasted a draft spot. Now, if he is not back in camp, we should take that as a very ominous sign. Dennis Allen will not give us a timetable here. And I tell you what, Jake, I don't like Jarvis Landry with Thomas, but if Thomas is not there, Jarvis can still ball, and Jameis is going to get the guy who can ball the football. Like, I love Olave, don't get me wrong, but Jarvis could be very high volume in this offense if Thomas is not on the field.
Let's say there's no Thomas. Is there a world where Olave and Landry both finish in the side of the top 36?
I think so. Last year, we didn't see high passing volume out of Winston, but we did see, remember week 1, he was one of the best fantasy quarterbacks in the league. We saw the high ceiling. I think that wasn't really because of Winston. It was because literally they had nobody to throw the football to. They had their number 4 and number 5 receivers as their number 1 and number 2 receivers. And not to knock them, they are number 4 and number 5 receivers. They're good players. They're just not standouts. And now they would actually, like Jarvis say, legit strong, one of the better receivers of his generation from the standpoint of what he does. And he can still go out there and play really good quality target. And then the best route runner in this year's class who has speed and athleticism. I think he is going to throw more. And yes, I do think that's a very real possibility. I would bank on Olave maybe slightly more than Jarvis, but Jarvis could prove to be a really good value if Thomas does not play.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. What I was about to say is, and with Smith and Callaway, they're essentially discount Mike Wallace's, and they're very go downfield, but where I'll compare it to real quickly as we get out of here is the Cam Newton deficiencies that they were created by this team drafting different styles, because Devin Funchess and Kelvin Benjamin were big bodies. They weren't really the deep threats, but they were the same type of player. And it was like, well, Smith and Callaway, same type of player, but how do you get somebody who struggles with accuracy like Cam, like Jameis, like Josh Allen at the beginning of his career? You get route runners who know how to get open. So that's why I'm with you. I am bullish potentially because at the price of Landry right now, there's only really upside. Worst case scenario, you drop him in week 3 because Michael Thomas is actually out there. But God forbid, if there is no Michael Thomas, I'm with you on this. I love both of them. If you want more great information from Jeff, please, FTN, his draft kit, 27th. Midnight or like during the day, just so because I know
like 8 a.m. Eastern, something like that.
Okay, so there you go. Wait by your computers. 27th, he'll be out from Jeff Ratcliffe at FTN. Code I usually say all in Rat Pack. Give it to him. It's his draft kit special. So over at theathletic.com/betstv, all capitals, you can get my stuff for a first free month over there. So there you go. No excuse not to draft well and do well this year. We'll be back next week with Meanie. We love you guys. Have fun.